Ethan Carter adjusted the worn straps of his backpack as he stood in the long airport security line. Beside him, his 7-year-old daughter Lily held tightly onto his hand. She looked around with wide, excited eyes. "Daddy, are we really flying? In an airplane?" Ethan smiled despite the exhaustion on his face. "We are." Lily grinned so brightly that several travelers smiled at her. It had been 5 years since Ethan lost his wife, Emma, to cancer. 5 painful years. Since then, Ethan had become both father and mother. Every morning began before sunrise. Preparing breakfast, packing lunches, helping Lily with homework, working double shifts as a mechanic, paying rent, trying to smile, trying not to cry, trying to convince his daughter everything would be okay. Life had never been easy. But Ethan had made one promise at Emma's bedside. "I'll give Lily the happiest life I can," and he never broke promises. That morning they were flying from Chicago to Seattle. A non-profit organization had offered Ethan a better-paying job at a repair facility. It wasn't luxury. It wasn't success. But it was hope. Hope for a fresh beginning. Inside the airport terminal, Lily suddenly stopped. "Daddy?" "What is it?" She pointed toward a little boy crying alone near a vending machine. His balloon had floated to the ceiling. Without hesitation, Lily walked over. "It's okay." She pulled a tiny stuffed rabbit from her backpack. "My mommy gave me this before she went to heaven." Ethan froze. Lily smiled. "But I think you need it today more than I do." The little boy stopped crying. His mother rushed over moments later, nearly in tears herself. "Thank you." Lily simply nodded. Ethan swallowed hard. Emma had always said kindness multiplies. Maybe she was right. After boarding, Ethan discovered their seats. A22B, window in middle. Lily pressed her face against the window. "We're above the eye." Clouds today. Across the aisle sat a sharply dressed woman wearing a navy business suit. Elegant, confident, cold. Her silver laptop never closed. Her phone rang constantly. Employees apologized. Executives reported numbers. Investors demanded answers. She responded with perfect professionalism. Her name was Victoria Hale, CEO of Hale Technologies. One of the youngest billionaires in America. Business magazines admired her. Television celebrated her success. Yet none of them knew. She hated flying. Not because of turbulence. Because every flight reminded her of the last trip she took with her father before he died. Since then, airplanes had become prisons filled with memories. Lily accidentally dropped her coloring pencils. Several rolled beneath Victoria's expensive leather shoes. Oh no. Before Ethan could react, Victoria bent down. She quietly gathered every pencil. She handed them back. "There you go." Lily smiled. "Thank you, pretty lady." Victoria almost smiled. Almost. Minutes later, the plane took off. Clouds surrounded them. The city disappeared below. Everything seemed peaceful. Until the seatbelt sign flashed. The airplane shook violently. Passengers gasped. A baby cried. Someone screamed. Lily grabbed Ethan's arm. "I'm scared." Ethan hugged her. "It's okay." Across the aisle, Victoria's breathing became uneven. Her hands trembled. She stared at the window, not blinking, not speaking. Her panic attack had begun. No one noticed, except Ethan. He quietly leaned across. "Ma'am?" No response. "You don't have to look outside." Still nothing. Then Ethan spoke softly. "My daughter used to panic during storms." Victoria slowly looked toward him. "Can I teach you something she learned?" She nodded. "Barely." Ethan smiled gently. "Count 5 things you can see." Victoria looked around. The seat. The light. The tray. The window. The little girl. Good. Now 4 things you can touch. Gradually, her breathing slowed. The shaking eased. Lily reached across the aisle. "It's okay." She placed her tiny stuffed rabbit into Victoria's hands. "You can borrow him." Victoria stared. No one had comforted her in years. Not employees, not investors, not friends. Because she didn't have friends anymore. Only meetings, deadlines, profits. For the first time in years, her eyes filled with tears. Hours later, the turbulence ended. Passengers relaxed. Flight attendants resumed service. Victoria quietly returned the stuffed rabbit. "Thank you," Lily smiled. "You can keep him." Victoria looked surprised. "But it belongs to you. My mommy always said, if something helps someone smile, it already belongs to them." Victoria couldn't answer. As dinner was served, Ethan opened the lunch he had packed from home. 2 simple sandwiches. He quietly cut one into smaller pieces for Lily. Victoria noticed. No complaints, no luxury, no waste, just love. Something money couldn't buy. She suddenly realized. She couldn't remember the last meal she had shared with another person. Near the end of the flight, the captain announced an emergency landing because of worsening weather. The cabin became tense once again. Passengers whispered nervously. Victoria closed her eyes. This time, without thinking. She reached for Ethan's hand. He squeezed it gently. "You'll be okay," she believed him. For reasons she couldn't explain, the plane safely landed. Everyone applauded. As passengers stood to leave, Victoria turned toward Ethan. "I don't think I ever thanked you properly." Ethan smiled. "You don't have to." She reached into her purse, pulled out a business card. "If you ever need anything." He politely shook his head. "I appreciate it, but kindness shouldn't come with invoices." Victoria stared. Nobody had ever refused her help before. As Ethan and Lily disappeared into the crowded airport, Victoria kept watching them. For the first time in years, she didn't think about stock prices. She thought about a tired father and a little girl who gave away her favorite toy to comfort a stranger. The rain had not stopped since the plane landed. Seattle's gray skies seemed to mirror Ethan Carter's thoughts as he and Lily waited outside the airport for the shuttle that was supposed to take them to temporary housing provided by his new employer. Lily leaned against her father. "Daddy, do you think Mommy would like Seattle?" Ethan smiled softly. "I think she'd say the trees are beautiful, and she'd tell us every rainy day is helping flowers grow." Lily giggled. "That sounds like Mommy." For a brief moment, the pain of missing Emma felt lighter. Across the city, Victoria Hale sat in the back of her chauffeured car. She wasn't thinking about the billion-dollar merger scheduled for the next morning. She wasn't reviewing financial reports. Instead, she kept replaying one sentence Ethan had spoken on the plane. Kindness shouldn't come with invoices. Nobody had ever treated her like an ordinary human being. People wanted contracts, investments, connections, favors, but Ethan had expected nothing. That unsettled her more than any business crisis ever had. As her driver pulled into Hale Technologies headquarters, Victoria stopped him. "David." "Yes, Ms. Hale. I need you to find someone." She handed him the business card she had tried to give Ethan. "I never got his contact information." David looked confused. "Just find him." Within an hour, the company's security team traced Ethan through the nonprofit organization that had arranged his relocation. But when David called the organization, his expression changed. "Ms. Hale, what is it?" "They never arrived." Victoria frowned. "What do you mean?" "The housing company canceled at the last minute because of flood damage. They've been trying to contact Mr. Carter." Victoria immediately stood. "So where are they now?" "No one knows." Meanwhile, Ethan and Lily sat inside a small 24-hour diner near the airport. Their shuttle had never arrived. Their phones were almost out of battery. Every nearby hotel was fully booked because dozens of flights had been diverted by the storm. Ethan quietly counted the cash in his wallet. $112. Enough for food, not enough for an expensive hotel. He forced a smile for Lily. "We're having an adventure." Lily nodded. "I like adventures." But Ethan noticed she kept rubbing her eyes. She was exhausted. The waitress approached. "Anything else?" Ethan hesitated before answering. "Just 2 hot chocolates, please." He wanted Lily to stay warm. He would skip dinner if necessary. The waitress noticed but didn't say anything. At that exact moment, Victoria walked into the same diner. Her driver had stopped so she could grab coffee before returning to the office. She wasn't expecting to see Ethan or Lily. She immediately recognized the tiny pink backpack beside the booth. She paused. Should she interrupt? Before she could decide, Lily looked up. The pretty lady. Victoria couldn't help smiling. She walked over. What are the chances? Ethan looked surprised. I guess the world is smaller than we think. Victoria noticed the untouched menu, the tired expressions, the backpacks still beside the booth. She understood instantly. You don't have a place to stay. Ethan hesitated. It's temporary. I'll figure it out. Victoria respected the pride in his voice. She chose her words carefully. My company owns a hotel 5 minutes away. It has empty executive suites. You and Lily can stay there tonight. Ethan immediately shook his head. I couldn't. Victoria smiled gently. I'm not offering charity. I'm thanking 2 people who helped me breathe when I couldn't. There was a long silence. Finally, Lily whispered, Daddy. The rabbit says she's nice. Both adults laughed. For the first time that day, the tension disappeared. That evening, the executive suite felt like another world. Soft beds, warm blankets, a breathtaking view of Seattle's skyline. Lily jumped onto the enormous bed. I've never seen a TV this big. Ethan couldn't remember the last time she looked so carefree. Before leaving, Victoria handed Ethan an envelope. Don't open it until tomorrow. He looked confused. What is it? A small favor. No strings attached. Then she left. The next morning, Ethan opened the envelope. Inside was not money. It was a handwritten note. Thank you for reminding me that success means nothing if you have no one to share it with. If you're still interested in the repair job, my driver will take you there. I simply wanted to make sure you reached your first day without worrying about where your daughter would sleep. Victoria Ethan smiled. It was thoughtful, respectful. She had helped without making him feel helpless. Over the following weeks, Ethan settled into his new mechanic position. The pay was better than his old job. Lily started at a nearby elementary school. Slowly, life became stable again. Every Friday evening, Victoria visited the neighborhood community center where Lily volunteered after school. At first, she claimed she was just passing by, but everyone knew the truth. She enjoyed watching Lily laugh with the children. One afternoon, Lily walked up to Victoria holding 2 paper cups of lemonade, one for me, one for you. Victoria accepted it. You know, I've never volunteered before. Lily tilted her head. Really? I was always too busy building companies. Lily smiled innocently. My daddy says people are more important than buildings. Victoria looked toward Ethan, who was repairing a broken bicycle for one of the neighborhood kids. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He simply saw something broken and fixed it, she realized. That was exactly what he had done for her heart. A few days later, Victoria made an unexpected decision. She canceled an international business trip worth millions of dollars. Her executives were stunned. You've never missed a meeting. Victoria answered calmly. I've missed far more important things. Instead, she attended Lily's school art exhibition. Lily had painted a picture of 3 people standing beneath a rainbow after the storm. Her father, herself, and a woman holding a tiny stuffed rabbit. When Victoria saw the painting, her eyes filled with tears. Underneath, in childish handwriting, were the words, "Families can begin with strangers." Victoria could no longer deny the truth. These 2 people had changed her life. But just as hope began to bloom, a secret from Victoria's past resurfaced. Her company's board of directors discovered she had been spending time with ordinary people instead of focusing entirely on business. At the next emergency board meeting, they delivered an ultimatum that would force Victoria to choose between the empire she had spent years building, or the only genuine family she had found since losing her father. Victoria Hale stood at the head of the boardroom table, surrounded by 12 directors who had helped build Hale Technologies into one of the most successful companies in the country. The atmosphere was silent, cold, businesslike. The chairman adjusted his glasses and slid a folder across the polished table. "Ms. Hale, this is a simple decision." Victoria didn't open the folder. "We've received numerous complaints," another board member said. "Your schedule has changed dramatically. You've canceled investor dinners, postponed overseas meetings, and spent your weekends volunteering at community centers." Another director added, "Shareholders expect a CEO who is completely devoted to business." Victoria looked around the room. For years, these people had admired her dedication. Now they questioned it because she had begun living instead of merely working. The chairman spoke again. "You have two choices." He paused. "Return your full attention to this company, or resign." The room fell silent. Victoria slowly stood. When she finally spoke, her voice was calm. "For 10 years, I believed success meant having the tallest building, the largest profits, and the biggest headlines." She smiled sadly. "I was wrong." Several directors exchanged uneasy glances. "I built an empire, but I forgot how to build a life." Without another word, Victoria placed her CEO badge on the table. "I resign." Gasps echoed across the room. Some directors looked shocked. Others looked relieved. Victoria picked up her coat and walked out without looking back. For the first time in years, she felt free. That afternoon, Ethan was finishing work at the repair garage when his manager approached. "Ethan." "Yeah? Someone's here to see you." He walked outside. Victoria stood beside her car, dressed simply in jeans and a light sweater instead of her usual designer business suit. Lily ran toward her. "The pretty lady." Victoria laughed as Lily hugged her. Ethan noticed something different. She looked peaceful. "You resigned," he said quietly. Victoria nodded. "I chose the people who remind me who I really am." Ethan was speechless. "You didn't have to do that." "I know. I wanted to." Over the next few months, life changed in unexpected ways. Victoria didn't disappear from business completely. Instead, she started a small nonprofit foundation. Its mission was simple: help single parents find stable jobs, affordable childcare, and emergency housing. She named it Emma Hope Foundation, after Ethan's late wife. When Ethan discovered the name during the opening ceremony, he couldn't hold back his tears. "You remembered her," Victoria smiled. "She raised an incredible daughter, even though I never met her." The foundation quickly became known across Seattle. Mechanics volunteered to repair donated cars. Teachers offered free tutoring. Doctors provided health checkups. Local restaurants donated meals. Hundreds of families received help. Not because someone wrote a check, but because an entire community chose kindness. Victoria finally understood something her father had tried to teach her years before. Wealth grows when it's shared. One Saturday morning, Lily had an idea. She tugged on Ethan's sleeve. "Daddy." "What is it?" "I want to give away lemonade." "You mean sell lemonade?" Lily shook her head. "No, give it away." Ethan smiled. "Why?" "Because people look tired." Within an hour, they set up a tiny table in a city park. A handwritten sign read, "Free lemonade." "One smile is enough to pay." People stopped. Some smiled, some laughed, some cried. One elderly man quietly admitted he hadn't spoken to anyone in 3 days. He stayed for nearly an hour, talking with Ethan and Victoria. When he left, he whispered, "Thank you for reminding me that someone still sees me." Victoria watched the moment in silence. A billion-dollar advertising campaign could never create what one little girl had created with a pitcher of lemonade. Months later, Hale Technologies announced a surprising decision. The new CEO invited Victoria to the company's annual charity gala, not as a business leader, as the guest of honor. During the ceremony, the chairman stepped onto the stage. "We thought Ms. Hale was making the biggest mistake of her career." He smiled. We were wrong. He explained that after Victoria's resignation, public support for her foundation inspired companies across the country to partner with Hale Technologies on community projects. The company's reputation had never been stronger. Profits had increased. Employee satisfaction had reached record levels. Sometimes, he admitted, kindness is the best business strategy. The audience rose in a standing ovation. Victoria looked toward Ethan and Lily. They were clapping harder than anyone else. After the ceremony, the three of them walked outside beneath a sky filled with stars. Lily slipped her small hand into Victoria's. Can I ask you something? Of course. Will you always be part of our family? Victoria knelt in front of her. If your daddy is okay with it. She looked at Ethan. He smiled warmly. You've already been part of our family for a long time. Victoria's eyes filled with tears, not tears of loneliness, tears of belonging. A year later, the Emma Hope Foundation celebrated helping its 10,000th family. The celebration wasn't held in a luxury hotel. It took place in a neighborhood park. Children laughed on the swings. Parents shared homemade food. Volunteers hugged families they had helped. No one cared about titles. No one cared about wealth. They cared about each other. As the sun began to set, Lily climbed onto the small stage with the same stuffed rabbit she had once given to a frightened stranger on an airplane. She held it high and smiled. My mommy used to say that love grows every time you share it. She looked at Ethan, then at Victoria, and I think she was right. The crowd applauded. Victoria wrapped one arm around Ethan. Ethan held Lily close. They weren't connected by blood. They were connected by kindness, by courage, by second chances, and by one ordinary flight that had quietly changed 3 lives forever.